What's the main difference between young cricketers today as compared to your time?
Probably the opportunities that the guys have got there. There's so many cricket academies now, so many coaching opportunities where guys can go to different types of coaches. The oysters. The guys have got the chance to be the oysters of the ocean, to just go out and really lap up what they can. Enjoy the game, play it at, from a young age, and get some really quality coaching. And the game's now open to everyone, where you get some really talented kids coming from the townships, and those are really exciting times for us.
You spent nearly 2 decades as a South African cricketer. How do you reflect on the teams that you've played in?
I've been very fortunate enough to be involved in some really strong sides, and we've been pretty consistent since we got back into international cricket. We're perhaps a little bit frustrated that we haven't won a World Cup. We've won Test series in Australia and England, so we've certainly hit the highs on the Test side, and played some really good one-day cricket, and at times messed it up, unfortunately. So on the whole, I think we've been very successful as an international side over the years.
Well, I think the answer is quite clear, but are you satisfied with what you've achieved?
No, I suppose. That World Cup's the one that's missing, but other than that, I think we've put in some really good results. We've been consistent, and that's at the end of the day what you try and achieve. So a difficult question to say no to, because we have been so successful, but I think the World Cup plays such a big role that probably just puts a little bit of a negative and doubt into giving the yes answer.
How good are the cricket structures in South Africa in developing talent?
Well, the amount of international cricket that we're playing these days, it's so difficult to keep an eye on the domestic cricket. So you speak to a lot of guys that do play the domestic game, and they seem to think that it's at a very good level. The few games that I have come back and played provincially, it's been a tough contest. It's been as good as it's ever been. So I think the gap between international level and our domestic level has narrowed a little bit, which is good. And I think we've seen guys coming in from the domestic level and producing the goods from an early stage on the international scene. So it must be healthy if guys are doing that, and there's so much talent coming through.
Now, as we look back at the controversial quota system, what do you feel the benefits have been of that?
There were obviously frustrations along the way, as I think everybody thought there would be. But we've got to a stage now, and certainly over the last few years, where guys are being picked on merit. You don't need to put guys there that don't need to or don't deserve to be there anymore. So that takes a lot of pressure off the guys being selected now as well, because I think guys always got questioned whether they were good enough to be there, and if they got to put there on their skin colour. And thankfully that's all gone now. Guys that play for the country are now picked because they deserve to be there. And it's great for the country. I think there's so much talent out there, especially in those townships and that, which is still going to come through in years to come. So some really exciting times ahead.
Now, many South African cricketers went the Kolpak way. What do you make of when you look at the England side and there are 5 or 6 South Africans lining up?
Yeah, look, I suppose it's modern times. Cricket's now become a business, and guys are approaching it as a business. And if the guy thinks that he's going to do better overseas and earn a better living, or wants to play overseas, I suppose you can't really stop that. It's difficult to stop or to compete against the pound at the end of the day. But hopefully guys will still want to play for their country because of the love of the game. Obviously money does come into it, but it's sad to see the guys leave, but you can't hold it against them. It's a decision they make. Hopefully going forward we won't lose as many, and we need to keep our talent in this country.
How good is this current Proteas side, and what do you expect from them in the future?
I think our Test side is as good as it's ever been. We haven't lost a series. I think it's over 18 or 19 series, so played really some good consistent cricket. So from a Test point of view, we're obviously close to number 1, and would like to get to number 1 and stay there. That's probably the main goal at the moment. Our one-day side's come along very nicely. We've played some good cricket along the way there as well, and are up there at the rankings too. So as far as our cricket at the moment is concerned, we're in a pretty strong position, but still a lot of hard work left ahead of us if we want to maintain that.
Now, 2 of your former teammates, Alan Donald and Gary Kirsten, are now in the coaching staff. What impact have they made?
Look, it's still early days for Gary and for Alan, and I think the results that they've had already is fantastic, and shown how good they are. And I have no doubt going forward the results are going to get even better. Gary's been fantastic. I think the way he manages the players has been his biggest plus. The guys have enjoyed playing under him, and obviously Alan as well. The guys have enjoyed learning from him. They've played the game pretty recently as well, so know what it takes to play international cricket these days. So giving the guys time off and managing that and keeping them motivated is obviously important, and they've learned how to do that.
What has been Graeme Smith's contribution as a leader of the South African team?
He's been fantastic. It really frustrates me when people criticise him. If you look at his record, it's as good as anyone, and he's as good a captain as I've ever played under. So obviously taking over at the age of 22 was a tough job, and I think he's improved over the years and turned into one of the best that the game has produced when it comes to the captaincy side of it. So like I said, it's really frustrating when people keep criticising, and he doesn't perhaps got the credits that he probably deserves.
Now, there are all sorts of theories and reasons as to why South Africa have yet to win a Cricket World Cup. What are your thoughts?
I think if the person finds out what it is, I think he'll be a very sought after man. It's difficult to put it down to one or two things. Look, you need a bit of luck to go your way in World Cups, and we perhaps haven't done that. Maybe been our worst enemy at times. Maybe we've been too focused on winning the World Cup and not the process. It's a difficult one to say. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone our way. It certainly hasn't been through lack of wanting it. Maybe that's been the biggest problem, who knows. So taking care of the process, I think, now is what we're trying to do, and not worrying about the result. So maybe a little bit more relaxed attitude towards it might be our turn this time around in a couple of years' time.